Aloha, y'all. I'm Timothy the Tiger. I am an evangelist, which means a messenger of the great news of King Jesus Christ. And he personally has helped me heal physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And it's part of my purpose on earth, part of my dharma, to make these YouTube videos to share my experiences and the things I've learned with y'all so that you can possibly develop your own relationship with King Jesus Christ and better become the best version of yourself. Today, we're going to talk about a bit more of a serious subject matter, and I'll just say that it's hypothetical and just something I've been thinking about, and it's something brainstorming. And I guess I should say, don't take it too seriously, but I do think it is important to bring up and talk about and address. And one thing I want to say first off is that, when I first started this YouTube channel, it was more just to cover the conspiracies uh, that I realized were not theories. To me, they were facts, conspiracy facts. And in recent times, I haven't really delved into those categories just because partially, like after 2020, I just kind of gave up like, on humanity with waking up. Really, I mean that whole 2020 nonsense and just how difficult it was to just like shake people out of their like blindness. I just sort of gave up on trying to snap people out of it when I at least came to making these videos. And I guess that this video today would sort of fall into that category, but now in 2025, people can begin to see it more clearly. And this is something I've been saying since 2017. So for the last 8 years, this has been on my mind. And then also, if you're familiar with the New Age religion, the New Age spirituality, a lot of people that resonate with that, they have this saying where they don't like talking about these kind of subject matters because they say you manifest your reality. So by talking about a World War III scenario, I am manifesting my reality that I somehow, by making this YouTube video, am manifesting that, which is absolutely absurd and ridiculous. But the people in the New Age religion, some of them actually think that way. That like, if you think anything negative, then you're gonna manifest it, and just don't have bad thoughts. No bad thoughts, and no bad things in the world will happen. And it's the equivalent of an ostrich sticking its head in the sand and just being like, nope, I don't see anything. It's silly. It's ridiculous. And so I went to Target yesterday and I got a handy dandy marker board. So hopefully you can see that all right. My handwriting may look like a child's handwriting, but we'll work on it. So today, the first thing we're going to talk about is, well, this is already happening right now, the war in Ukraine. And obviously that's not good. It's not harmonious. Uh, and that's just one of the signs. It's a proxy war right now, mainly between the West and Russia. But it could very easily escalate into something bigger. So just acknowledging that's been going on for at least a couple of years now. And then I didn't put it on here, but just all the tension in the Middle East as well, between Israel and its surrounding countries. I mean, that's been going on since World War II, but it seems to be more escalated today now than ever. So we got tension in Europe, we got tension in the Middle East. And there's one more thing I've been telling myself for a while now, that number two, Taiwan, if China ever takes over the island of Taiwan, that is my cue to get out of the United States. That's just me personally. That's my game plan. Like, if I saw this on the news today that like China took over Taiwan, similar to like how the war in Ukraine started, this would be my sign that, you know what, this is about to happen. WW3. And it's time to seek a safe haven, a safer place to be that's not going to get wrapped up in the conflict and the drama. And so that would mean tension in the Middle East, tension in Asia, tension in Europe, and it's very easy for that to just engulf the whole world. Now, I didn't put it on here either. Maybe I should have made more time thinking about this chart, but I would put right here a dot saying dreams. And I personally have had a dream when I was living in Hawaii where the island I was living on was being invaded. I saw full on World War III invasion of Hawaii. And most recently, this past week, I was in my childhood neighborhood, and there was all these trees that were fallen down and cut down, and there were tanks everywhere. And I remember seeing a house, like part of that, like the siding of the house had it was a 3-story house, and it was just gone, and you could see inside, like you could see the staircase and the bedrooms and the kitchen. And was that a World War III scenario? I'm not sure, but I mean, anytime tanks are involved, I mean, that normally means war. So, I mean, it sort of looked like a natural disaster as well with all the fallen trees. But again, I'm not quite sure why tanks, military tanks, would be involved. So again, that was just another interesting dream I had just this past week. This one, cyber attack. I'm sure y'all have heard about this. Uh, I've been hearing about this for years, ever since 2020. Been hearing about the possibility of a cyber attack. Again, something I was kind of worried about since 2017, where when I began to really wake up to the world, and I was just like thinking about the grocery store and just being like, we are so dependent on the grocery store. Like, if anything ever happened, like, it's just such a fragile system. And at the beginning of this journey, a lot of these subjects made me worried and paranoid, and that's before I found God. So that's part of the reason I can so comfortably talk about it, is because you know what, at the end of the day, I know I'm going to be all right. Uh, but yeah, so people are talking about a cyber attack, and I think most recently the Watchman Brandon Biggs, he said that there would be some sort of cyber attack where potentially there would be no power for 3 weeks, and he was saying that it would be wise to have 3 weeks worth of water and food and candles and stuff. And he wasn't saying for the entire United States, but he said he saw it in several major U.S. cities, and he mentioned New York City as one of them. So just imagine that scenario. Again, we're not manifesting our reality. I'm just saying, if there really were a cyber attack that knocked out the power and internet in New York City for 3 weeks, that would destroy the economy. I mean, the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, I feel like the economy would be completely devastated if something like that actually happened in New York City and knocked it off its grid for a few weeks. Not only would it be chaos in that city, but economically, this country would collapse. And I mean, with economic collapse, that could easily lead to riots. I mean, people love money. Money is the number one thing in this country. Again, I'm not trying to instill fear. I'm just saying, just like, be grateful for how peaceful it is today. Because as far as I know, it's not always gonna be this peaceful out here. I mean, it's not even like that peaceful, but I'm just saying, like, it's relatively calm. And in an instant, it could easily change. And so I'm just saying, be prepared, and at least be mentally prepared, be spiritually prepared, emotionally prepared, and if possibly physically prepared as well. And so we're just brainstorming here on this channel. And so another thing I got here is Trump. A lot of people treat this guy as like a false idol. Is he the savior? Jesus Christ is the savior. But people love this guy. And if he were ever assassinated, or you know how these, like, well, you may not know, but I'm just saying, the puppet masters, I mean, they could fake an assassination. I mean, who knows, with all the secret society stuff, like, who knows what's really going on. But I'm just saying, I mean, I've had a dream where there was 2 Donald Trumps, that he has a clone. And so, like, as far as I know, I mean, there was a Kanye West music video where it showed the clone. And there's all this other evidence that there's a clone of Donald Trump. They say, like, the real one wears a red tie and the clone wears a blue tie. So there's all this weird thing about 2 Donald Trumps. And I mean, I could see that they could easily assassinate the clone or something. I don't know, like, really. But I'm just saying, if anything were to ever happen to this guy, I mean, people would riot. And like, People love him. Like I say, like a false idol. What do we got next? The draft. This has been the main concern for me, really, is a draft scenario where they take all the young men, possibly women too, because of the whole feminist thing and saying like, oh, women are equal. I mean, we're equal in different ways. Like we're complementary. I mean, like yin yang. Like women have strengths that men don't have, and men have strengths like physical strength that women don't have. But like people act like little children nowadays, and you can't have a conversation about this. But it's like, yeah, on average, men are physically stronger than women, and then on average, I would say women are probably more psychic. They're probably more psychic and in tune with their emotions, and they're intuitive. So the men may have like the physical upper hand, but the women have the psychological upper hand. Like most like spiritual psychics, they're usually women, and so we're complementary. We help each other. We need each other. And anyways, just saying, in a draft, it may not just be the men, because you've had the World War One draft, you've had the World War Two draft, you've had the Vietnam War draft. I don't know if the Korean War had a draft, but there may have been a draft for the Korean War. But I know at least World War One, World War Two, and Vietnam. And so every generation, so like you could say my great grandfather's generation of World War One, my grandfather's generation of World War Two, my father's generation of Vietnam, and now would be my generation. So it's like we have a repeating track record history of every generation there is a draft. And I think we're due for one. And to be honest, y'all, I don't want to get wrapped up into it. And people would be like, "Oh, you're a coward." And it's like, no, this country is just not worth fighting for. It's been infiltrated, it's been corrupted. It's not the same America of 100 years ago, of 200 years ago. Like, it's not the same country. The people are brainwashed. The people just, America is not America anymore. It's a completely different place. And it's just not worthwhile. Like, I just don't, I just, to me, it's not worth it. It's not worth risking my life for. I just don't have that patriotism for this country. I'm grateful to have been born here. I'm grateful to have been raised here and the opportunities that have been afforded us. But I'm too aware of the corruption and the lies and the deceit. And yeah, I mean, this place is Mystery Babylon from the Book of Revelation. I believe it's the Book of Revelation. Yeah, the United States is Mystery Babylon. It has corrupted the whole world through its money, through Hollywood, through its music, through its movies, through its military, like just going out and conquering. This country has a lot of bad karma. And so it's like, why would this happen to the United States? And it's not just me, but like, just type in, I used to tell people this, to go on YouTube and just type in, what would I tell them to type in? I would say like, I think there was something I would tell people to tell in, to look on the search bar, and I think I would just say like type in like World War III or something, and it was always all the results were invasion of the United States, invasion of the United States, invasion of the United States, China invades USA, Russia invades USA. And like all I typed in on the search bar was World War III. I didn't say anything about Russia, China, USA invasion. I didn't say any of that stuff, but that's what all the results would show. And it's usually people with prophetic dreams, people having dreams of the future. And I encourage you to go look that up. It's definitely concerning. And my allegiancy is to God. That's what I want to fight for. I want to fight for God and for the truth. And that this World War III scenario is not gonna be a spiritual war. It's not gonna be. It's a depopulation war. It is to lower the population of the earth. So it's like that. That's why I wouldn't want to be involved. It's not a righteous war. It's not something that you're fighting for something right. It's as far as I know, all the players are the bad guys, and there is no real winner. I mean, and so the real war is the spiritual war of light versus darkness, of God versus the devil. That's of truth versus lies. That's the real war. And so, if it's God's will, I would like to avoid being involved in that draft scenario. And as far as I know, it's gonna. My friend thinks it's going to take place in Poland. So I believe Poland is just west of Ukraine. And what he's saying is that they're going to take. All right, I'm just going to say this, y'all. There's this thing called whitewashing, where first off, I just want to say I recognize the soul in everybody, and that these bodily temples are just vehicles for our soul. Some happen to have different skin colors from one another, but the real essence of us is the soul. And so I'm just saying that, like, I recognize us all as brothers and sisters because our soul all comes from God, regardless of our skin color. But there is this thing called whitewashing where there seems to be an agenda to essentially eliminate the white race. And I'm just saying, if you go to Asia, you're going to see majority Asians. If you go to Africa, you're going to see majority Africans. If you go to the Middle East, you're going to see majority Middle Easterners. If you go to Latin America, you're going to see majority Latin Americans. If you go to America or Western Europe or Europe, you're going to see a melting pot. Just go to the airport. I mean, have you been to the international immigration when you go to the United States airport? I mean, this is not a white country anymore. Like, and I'm not trying to say like white supremacist or anything. I'm just making an observation because I travel the whole world. Like when I go to Asia, I'm the only white guy in immigration because it's all Asians. I've been to Africa, and when I go there, I'm pretty much the only white guy because it's all African looking people. When I go to Latin America, I'm usually one of the only white people because it's mainly Latin Americans. But when I come home to the United States, it's a melting pot. Europe, it's a melting pot. I'm just saying. And yeah, for talking about this, people would label me a racist for even like acknowledging it. Like it's just like I'm just pointing it out, okay? I have a point here. And so the idea is that they would have the war in Poland and that they're going to send majority white men from America, from Canada, England, France, Germany, Spain, and Italy, and then the white men from Eastern Europe and Russia, and have them kill each other. Now, it'll probably be more than just white men, but I'm just saying that's one of the ideas here is part of the depopulation. And so you got to realize, like, what are we dealing with here? And at the end of the day, it's not really just like USA versus Russia kind of thing. You got to look at who's in power of those countries. And the people who run those countries, they work for the same team. And that's what people fail to see. Like just look at 2020 again and what they called lockstep, like how the countries worked in lockstep. They were all working together because they all had a shared agenda. Because at the highest levels, they all worship the devil, and that's their god. That's their false god, and their whole agenda, really, at the end of the day, is to get rid of the Christians, the followers of Jesus Christ. That's the real agenda here. And so I know this is a bit of a tangent, but I mean that's what I do on this YouTube video. I just share my mind and talk about the things that I want to talk about. And so that's just where I'm at and where my perspective is on the world, is that I don't consider Russia an enemy or China an enemy or any of these countries enemies. Like they're all full of the children of God that again we share the same soul. But I'm just saying the powers that be, the powers that control these countries, behind closed doors, they're all buddies, and they all have the same agenda, which is to get us towards that NWO, that one world dictator, one world economy, one world government kind of thing. I mean, that's where this is all going. And in order to get there, you got to knock America off the map because America is the last bastion of freedom. Like this country stands for freedom, and the freedom to bear arms, and have your own guns, and this is the idea that you could do anything here, like any possibility in America. But that's the idea of it. But like, I mean, the one thing standing in front of the NWO is United States, and so you got to get this off the map, and it would shock the whole world, because people view America as invincible. Most Americans think America is invincible, that it can never fall. But similar to the Roman Empire, I mean, America is just the modern day Roman Empire, and the Roman Empire fell as well. And so I think it's only a matter of time before this country falls. And I think people are beginning to see the signs. And so let's get into our last point here and begin to wrap up this video. And so, where is it safe? And so, the safest refuge is within yourself and your relationship with God. That's the most important thing. And just being wherever God wants you to be. And that very well could be in Europe or Russia or here in the United States. Who knows? That's between you and God. If I were here, personally, I think it would be wise to have a stockpile of filtered water, a stockpile of food, like preserved food, a stockpile of like stuff like candles, to maybe power electronics, something to power electronics. But again, not going too crazy with it, but just, like a 1 month supply, something like, all right, I would say guns and ammunition, or some sort of weapon as well, because in that type of scenario where I talked about like grid going down and no food at the grocery store, no water coming out of the pipes, it won't take long before people are going door to door looking for resources. And so I'm not a proponent of violence. I follow Jesus Christ, but if you're at your dwelling place and someone tries to kick in your door to steal your stuff and possibly hurt you, as far as I know, there's no bad karma. It's not a sin to defend yourself. And I think it's actually the right thing to do. As a warrior, I feel like I would have to protect myself and protect my loved ones from an intruder. And so, again, I know that's a pretty intense scenario, but I would say personally, I would like to avoid that scenario. We'll see what happens wherever God places me. Right now, I'm still in the United States. But I would say personally, I would rather be in Latin America. In a World War III scenario, I just don't see Latin America, especially South America, really getting involved. I mainly see it as kind of like a Russia, North Korea, China versus Western Europe and United States kind of thing. And then you got the whole conflict in the Middle East. So like Asia doesn't seem great. Australia, New Zealand, I wouldn't say, because they're pretty much Western Europe and United States as well. So places that I would not consider safe are United States, maybe Canada, Western Europe or Eastern Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Asia. I mean, maybe parts of Asia, maybe like Bali. I'm not sure. Indonesia's got a massive military. I went to go visit Bali, and they have a pretty strong military presence there. And again, it's just follow the guidance of God. But when I think about South America, the countries in South America, I don't really see them getting as heavily involved in this type of scenario. And so if I had to guess out of the continents, I would say South America is probably your best bet. It's probably my best bet. Maybe Africa, but I mean, I honestly don't really want to go to Africa. I'd rather go to South America. Just because I feel like if I were going to learn a foreign language, my best bet at learning a foreign language would be Spanish, because it's the closest to English. And also, I really appreciate how devout the Latinos are when it comes to their devotion towards God, or what they would say, Dios. They really do have a love for Jesus Christ in Latin America, and that would probably be the number one main reason I would want to be there. And so I'm here for the winter right now, And my tentative game plan right now is once winter's over, I'll make my way to Latin America, maybe sign up for Spanish school or something, and you know, maybe that's the end of my journey here in the United States, because I do think we are getting closer and closer to this type of scenario. And again, I'm not trying to live in fear. I'm not trying to fear monger, but this is something that has been on my mind, and I think it is a possibility. And if I had the ability to avoid it, I would like to avoid it, because by just being here for it, I mean, I don't really think I could do much good. I think, yeah, I think it would just be better to see. I see the signs. I see the signs, and you know, I think anyone, if they could go back in a time machine and they were living in World War II in Europe, and they could see the writing on the wall, they'd be like, you know what? Maybe we should leave Europe because war sucks. Like, it's horrific. And so that's just kind of where I'm at, where I'm like, I kind of see the writing on the wall. Do I really want to be here for that? Not really. That doesn't sound fun. So that's it. That's kind of where I'm coming at. And like I said, it's not going to be a righteous war. It's not going to be godly. I mean, God doesn't like any war, but you know what I mean, where it's just like you have like a clear evil enemy attacking the good people. And it's like, that's what I mean by righteous, where it's like you guys are clearly in the good and you're defending yourself, and you have an invader, an intruder trying to harm you. And it's like your people are godly people. Like, you mean peace, you want peace, you don't want violence, but then someone's trying to conquer you. And it's like, that's what I mean by like a righteous godly war. It's like you are trying to do the right thing, you are trying to be peaceful and avoid violence, but this other group of people, they want to conquer and enslave you. And it's like, okay, defend yourself and your people and your community. So so hopefully, you know, hopefully that brought some clarity to that. And yeah, that this WW3 scenario is not going to be that. I don't see it being that way. It's more of a banker's war. It's just like the saying that essentially all recent wars have just been bankers' wars. And yeah, that's mainly how I see it. It's just it's a way to reshape the world for a one world government, and have a depopulation agenda at the same time. And yeah, just completely change the shape of the earth, because that's what World War One did. It changed the whole dynamic, and then World War Two changed it even more to the world we have today. And then World War Three would finally be the final stage of that, before we have that one world dictator, the Antichrist. And I've had dreams about that as well. God revealed to me that the Antichrist will be Barack Obama. Other people have had dreams about that as well. Do your own research, do your own prayers. But I personally would not be surprised if Barack Obama becomes the one world dictator in the future. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I see this whole WW3 thing going, is going to the Antichrist. And maybe the Antichrist will bring a false peace that will end this World War III scenario, and the people will love him. People have also thrown out the idea of a fake alien invasion, and somehow the Antichrist coming out of that as well. I mean, a lot of crazy scenarios I used to talk about on this channel. I don't talk about them as much, but yeah. All right, I know this was sort of a heavy video. Hopefully you found it inspirational. Most importantly, I want you to work on developing your relationship with God, because that will be the most important thing in this scenario. I know I like to keep these videos fun, but this one's obviously not a fun video, but I want people to be rooted in reality as well, and prepared and not taken by surprise. So begin figuring things out. Don't live in fear or paranoia or panic, but just stay close to God and feel into it. Feel into where you think God wants you. And yeah, but you got to have that relationship with God first to be able to use your intuition and to know and to sense that guidance. So may God bless all y'all. Namaste.